Right before Route 83, your stop and go from the Dan Ryan. So if you're getting out to Cicero Avenue, 43 minutes, an hour 8 to the Tri-State, hour 25 to get out to the Veterans Tollway with a big delay coming in from Lamont Road to pass out Route 83. Looking at that outbound crash, 54 in from 355, 34 in from the Tri-State. Thanks again for the calls on the WBBM Mercedes-Benz of Hoffman Estates traffic tip line at 855-780 Road. On our tollways, most of them are pretty active, especially on the Jane Addams Tollway, which is I-90. Westbound traffic from the Tri-State to pass Lee Street. Crash cleanup there on the right shoulder. In the northwest suburbs, a backup on Route 53 north from Algonquin Road to Kirchhoff. Delays in the southwest suburbs along I-80. Eastbound from Larkin to before Briggs, heavy westbound Kedzie to past I-57, and a delay before Briggs to Larkin. 8094 in northwest Indiana, brake lights westbound before the toll road to before Central, heavy from 65 to Kennedy, and eastbound from Burr over to Grant. On the Edens Expressway coming in, 45 minutes, no delays out. Kennedy about 56 to and from the airport. On the Eisenhower going out, 1 hour to Manheim, an hour 20 to the Jane Addams. Coming in, an hour 25 from I-90, 45 in from Manheim. The Dan Ryan 50 out, 20 minutes in. From the Metro Traffic Center, next report, 438, News Radio 1059, WBBM.
39 degrees now at 429. With trusted relationships and national reach, CVS Health is uniquely positioned to simplify care. Learn more at cvshealth.com/Investor Day.
You know that sound, and you better get used to it, because when you bank with Consumers Credit Union,
What's up, everybody? SubX.News on the spot reporting here in downtown Chicago. We're ready to roll. We usually listen to the news so we know what's going on, kind of get a basis of our brain thinkings, and then we'll maybe put some radio calls on. Maybe I'll talk about some of the things that happened overnight. There's a lot of things that happened in Chicago overnight that are pretty messed up. So we'll be talking about some of that. Let's listen to the local news.
4:30. Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Fielden. I'll tell you about it. The City Hall Finance Committee advances an alternative budget plan to the one put forth by Mayor Johnson.
This is Mike Krauser. The Sheriff's Office in LaPorte County, Indiana, investigates a series of incidents during which vehicles were damaged by frozen water bottles thrown from an oncoming car.
Plus, Nick Reiner, the younger of Rob Reiner's sons, is officially charged with the murder of his parents inside their LA home. In sports, the Hawks are on the road to face the Leafs in Toronto. In business,
stocks today ending mostly lower on Wall Street on mixed news about jobs. The Dow down 302, the NASDAQ higher by 54, the S&P down 16. I'm Tom Busby at Bloomberg.
Partly cloudy, 39 degrees at 431. Public transit across Illinois is getting a major overhaul thanks to a new bill. WBBM's Andy Dane has more on the $1.5 billion plan.
Transit should be easy, safe, clean, and timely.
All of which leaders say are on the way, thanks to the new public transit funding bill signed by Governor Pritzker inside of Union Station.
This new law is designed to modernize Illinois' transit systems from the far northern reaches of our state to east and west central Illinois to southern Illinois.
Exciting days of negotiations, meetings, and more. State Rep Cam Buckner said he and his colleagues are incredibly proud of the new plan.
It is the most comprehensive, consequential, and impactful transit legislation passed by any state at any time in the history of this country.
Changes include replacing the Regional Transportation Authority with the new Northern Illinois Transit Authority and putting more law enforcement on and near buses and trains. Andy Dane, News Radio 1059 WBBM.
Now to the city budget. Chicago aldermen opposed to Mayor Johnson's controversial corporate head tax have now scored a victory as their alternate budget proposal passes a key city council committee vote. Members of the finance committee approved the alternate budget this afternoon and advanced it to the full council. Roscoe Village Alderman Scott Wagesback told colleagues he and other council members have worked together for weeks to develop an alternative to a tax they say they're concerned could stifle job growth.
We've come to an agreement to remove the garbage tax as part of our proposal. We have no grocery tax. We have no property tax, and we have no head tax.
in the tax on sales of beer, wine, and spirits at retail stores. Before the hearing, aldermen agreed to schedule a rare Saturday session as the council tries to meet a December 30th deadline to avoid a potential shutdown. In LaPorte County, police investigating several incidences where they see people in cars or throwing frozen water bottles at other cars along a northwest Indiana highway.
Most of the incidents occurred on a roughly 20-mile stretch of US 421 between Michigan City and the town of La Crosse. There were 7 incidents on Saturday alone, according to the sheriff's office. One of the drivers whose vehicle was damaged, Michael Gill, has a dashboard camera and it captured video. He said a grayish sedan with a headlight out on the passenger side was approaching on the dark highway.
There was like this huge loud boom and crack, and I was like, what the heck was that? So I immediately pulled over. Sure enough, there was a frozen water bottle half lodged in my grill.
Gill said it caused several $1,000s in damage to the grill, hood, and side of the vehicle and knocked out electrical components. He's offering a reward of $2,500. He said someone knows something, and this has to stop before someone is seriously injured. Mike Krauser, News Radio, 105.9 WPBF.
434, now to the latest out of L.A. as prosecutors say Rob Reiner's son, Nick Reiner, will be charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the killing of his parents, Rob and his wife, Michelle. Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced the charges against the 32-year-old today. Hochman laid out all of the charges, speaking to reporters.
These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife.
Nick Reiner's attorney, Alan Jackson, said medical reasons kept his client from making his first initial court appearance today. Authorities in Rhode Island have released 3 new videos of the man they believe is responsible for the shooting at Brown University. 2 students were killed in Saturday's attack, another 9 wounded. The FBI is now offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest or any kind of identification. The footage doesn't show the man's face, but are the clearest images yet found of the suspect. U.S. military announces 3 more boat attacks, killing 8 more people in Venezuela. The U.S. Southern Command posted videos of the strikes, saying the operation was carried out at the direction of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. It comes as Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio were on Capitol Hill today to brief House members about the ongoing military strikes. CBS's Nicole Killian reports on the takeaways from today's meeting.
Republicans, of course, by and large, defended the administration, feel that they continue to have the authority to carry out these strikes in the Caribbean, even as some question what the end goal is as far as the strategy here. But many Democrats were certainly more critical. They still believe that lawmakers, at the very least, should have access to that unedited video of that controversial boat strike back in September.
Earlier today, Hegseth announced that the Pentagon will not publicly release unedited video of a strike that killed 2 survivors of an initial attack on an alleged drug smuggling boat. And House Speaker Mike Johnson says there will not be a vote on extending health care subsidies under the Affordable Care Act.
Speaker Johnson on why the Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act does not address those expiring subsidies.
We looked for a way to try to allow for that pressure release valve, and it just was not to be.
The bill includes efforts to lower drug prices and allow small businesses more health plan options. When asked why the majority of Republicans waited until the end of the year to address the issue,
The health care bill on the floor tomorrow is right on time.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calls the Republican bill, quote, a deeply unserious proposal. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
436.
Consider it done with ABC. Our family's been available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for more than 65 years. ABC Plumbing, Sewer, Heating, Cooling, and Electric. Book your appointment today at 4abc.com and consider it done.
Bears! Maybe you shouldn't have gone shirtless in this weather.
It's a nice Bears jacket.
Oh, thanks. I bought it with the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gives exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise.
It's so soft and warm.
I tried. Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Well, I tried to comment, but I can't. I don't know how I can comment because it gives me where I hit send. It's blocked by my phone. That we wrote about that bill there, that law now that Pritzker got for the new regional authority. First of all, it creates more bureaucracy. It raises the tolls, it raises fees, and there is no guarantee that that money actually goes into transportation, meaning roads. It's supposed to be a road to help roads because they're raising the tolls. They're raising the tolls to pay for bike lanes, basically. That's what they're doing. They're transferring the wealth. It's called wealth transfer. They're taking money from drivers and companies that use roads and giving it to other people. It might be an illegal bill. We'll see. I'm thinking about, for 2026, I'm thinking about being a legal activist. I'm not a lawyer, but I might start doing what Pat Quinn used to do. And remember the other guy in the 70s or 80s used to have the Fight Back? These guys, I think that guy, he was a lawyer, but I don't know if Pat Quinn was a lawyer. You can file lawsuits without being a lawyer and just fight these things. Because like that law, they're going to tax gas, they're going to tax tolls, they're going to tax all this, and they're creating a board, so they're using the money to pay people's salaries, and then what? They're going to use it for bike lanes and trains. That's what they're going to do it. It's taxation without representation. Let's listen to the rest of the news.
34 in from the tri-state.
We wrote about that bill. It's on our page. I know, look, I know we have a ton of information. That's just how I do my news. If you Google some of our stuff, you can Google with our name. Look, all of my stuff is on the internet. Unless it's something that I know about, I'll say it, but I'll repeat that a couple times. Most of all of our news is on the internet. We don't create news. We don't make secret stuff up, all right? So don't worry about it if you minute. But look up that law that they just passed. It's bad for us. It's bad for drivers.
Into Hyde Park on the tollways, not bad. The Jade Adams still heavy westbound for the tri-state to pass Lee Street. A crash we had there just cleared. Route 53 in the northwest suburbs, good southbound, but you have a slowdown northbound between Algonquin Road and Kirchhoff. And the southwest burbs has delays as well on I-80. Westbound past Kedzie to 57, US 30 to Larkin, and eastbound from Larkin to past Richards with a delay from Harlem over to 57. In northwest Indiana, brake lights on 8094 west before the toll road to Central and 65 to Kennedy. Slow eastbound between Burr and Grant. From the Metro Traffic Center, next report, 448, News Radio 105.9, WBBM.
WBBM AccuWeather. Clouds will be increasing into early tonight and will be mostly cloudy through much of the night ahead. There could be some areas of fog late. Could be just enough to create a few slippery spots, especially south and west of the city. A low tonight around 30. Partly sunny for tomorrow, a high 37. And turning out cloudy tomorrow night, some rain will arrive late. It's a low 31 early, but temperatures rise into the low 40s late tomorrow night as that rain moves in. And then rain continues Thursday, ending in the afternoon with a high 46. 39 degrees at O'Hare right now, 37 at Midway, 38 in Flossmoor, 39 at the lakefront, going down to 30 tonight. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson.
It's 440. Residents on the south side are taking the next step in an attempt to stop a quantum data center from being built in South Shore.
Southside residents and activists this week submitted nearly 300 signatures demanding a referendum on the March 2026 ballot on the proposed quantum facility on the former U.S. Steel Southworks site.
A referendum that gives people who live closest to the former Southworks site the right to say no to a $9 billion Illinois Quantum and Microelectrics Park, and yes to direct investments in our neighborhood.
South Shore resident Jerry Worley says the money for the 128-acre campus for quantum computing research should instead be invested in the community's basic needs.
They could plow our streets more. They could have someone doing something with all of the vacant lots that we have, the tenants that have to deal with slumlords, revitalizing our parks, revitalizing the lakefronts, giving more entertainment to these communities, bringing in more grocery stores. There's so many things they could have done outside of just giving us a data center.
Carolina Garibay, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Yeah, that's good. I'm against that too.
Hyundai and Kia have come to a deal with 36 states that sued the car makers, claiming their vehicles were too easy to sell.
They're giving away free water. We did the FOIA request on it. They say it's private. That our requests for the contracts between the government and the company are private. They're non-disclosure agreements. That one, we've been watching that quantum thing. It's a scam. It's not a job creator. It's a scam. They're getting free water over there. That's why they need it. These data centers need to be cooled. So they use the lake water for free to cool their stuff. That's what it's for. Then they won't give us the water agreements. Yep. That's a scam out there. And they're giving tax breaks to those guys. It's a Ponzi scheme like Uber was. It's an Uber. You know, Uber was a Ponzi scheme, right? by Rahm Emanuel's brother, right? Everybody knows that one. We wrote about that
The
too.
outbreak has sicken more than 50 babies in 19 states, including Hannah Everett's 4-month-old daughter Piper in Kentucky.
She had finished that entire can literally the day before the recall. You just kind of feel like you failed as a parent in some ways.
So far, no deaths have been reported. Michael Wallace, CBS.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30%
So that quantum thing, it's already been researched in other countries and states. First of all, it uses lots of water, uses your electrical grid, which our electrical grid here in Chicago sucks. And it doesn't create jobs because those are super high-end jobs. Those you need at least a PhD to be working in it. You might get a mopping job. You might get a security job. You know, like all those migrant jobs, the only jobs that the Chicagoans got was security. Everybody knows that, right? All the fancy jobs that were paying 50, 60 grand for the migrant shelters, those were all given to political operatives. They've never disclosed that, but I know it because I've talked to the guys. I had people inside of the shelters working, giving me information. Once I can release that without harming them, then I will. But I have information from inside the shelters. It's the same scam over and over and over again. They're stealing our money. They need to cut taxes, cut fees, cut waste, cut salaries, and cut staff. That's what they need to do. That's how you need to fix our state and our city.
Call 1-800-GRANGER. Click Granger.com or just stop by. Granger.
And stop giving our money away. It's like that guy just said, why don't you plow our streets, get the rats, provide services rather than giving away our stuff.
That promise is more.
That's what's happening. Our stuff is being given away. Pritzker gave away the Thompson Center. Pritzker gave away the silos. You know, the Damon silos were not given to the highest bidder. They weren't. I think Taden's probably the right guy, but if he would have given it, there was a Mexican company, a food company, that bid on it, higher than Taden. This is the Damon silos that's being turned down. And they were going to expand their facility and expand jobs. Now, Taden is also going to do expanding jobs, but he's mad asphalt. So we'll see how that works out. But Taden's hooked up with the mob. His old man's a mob guy, right? But sometimes I don't like dealing with criminals, right? But maybe that deal gets done better. Who knows? We don't know. We'll see on the Damon silos. But a lot of these deals that are happening are not for the people. They're for private interests and politics.
Online visit. Through HIMSS, you can access ED treatments, including pills, chews, and more. 100% online. No office visits, no pharmacy lines. Just fill out a simple intake form and a discreetly to your door. Find affordable treatment options at up to 95% less than brand names at hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Top trending stories on WBBMNewsRadio.com.
Well, if you'd like to app for financial advice, it's called InTalk. Spent about 400 hours scrolling on the subject in 2025. Millennials watch the most at about 10 hours per week. Gen X and Gen Z reported saving the most money from what they watched. Unsurprisingly, money-saving trends were the most searched financial topic on TikTok this year. 4:46, time to find your next Porsche at Porsche Esposito.
Lisa, good afternoon. Regular season games don't get much better than the Bears and Packers in primetime. That's on the way this weekend for Bears fans, with first place on the line, as Rick Gregg reports.
That's the Soldier Field matchup Saturday night with playoff implications attached, and Bears defensive lineman Grady Jarrett expects the full experience.
Show up and show out. Show up and show out. It need to be the loudest game we had all season. They need to rock that stadium. Soldier Field need to be shaken.
And if those fans drop their infamous Green Bay sucks line, or a different version that starts with an F, well, the McCaskey family might not approve, but Jarrett sure does.
We know the chants they like to chant, and we're going to make them happy, give them something to chant about, and we're going to go put up a good showing for them.
It'll be a full house. On the secondary market, you can't get into Soldier Field for less than $386, with prices skyrocketing from there. Covering the Bears, Rick Gregg, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
The Bears are 10-4, Green Bay 9-4-1 after losing to Denver on Sunday. The Pack will be without Micah Parsons, who tore his ACL against the Broncos. For the Bears, 4 DNPs today. Andrew Billings due to illness, Luther Burden with an ankle injury, and Roma Dunze with his foot injury. hockey, and Connor Bedard has had a breakout for the Hawks. Unfortunately, the NHL's fourth leading scorer will be put on pause for the next few weeks as he recovers from a shoulder injury. It's been reported by Kevin Weeks of NHL Network as a separated shoulder, so Bedard will be reevaluated in January. The Hawks play in Toronto this evening. The Bulls could have used some of that superstar power and certainly better health. They have lost 8 of 9 thanks to a litany of injuries from the top of their roster to the bottom. They next are in action against the Cavaliers at the United Center tomorrow night. One baseball move of note, the Cubs re-signing reliever Caleb Thielbar to a 1-year contract. With sports at 16 and 46, I'm 670 The Score's Mike Esposito on News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Mike, with a half hour, 4:48 now. Let's check in with traffic and Neil Fiorito.
Bad delays in Burr Ridge along the Stevenson outbound before Route 83. A 2-car crash in the 2 left lanes, just that right lane getting by, and that's why you're stop and go from the Dan Ryan. 42 minutes to Cicero, an hour 12 to 294, hour 27 now, unfortunately, to get out to 355. Massive delays on the outbound Stevenson. Coming inbound, you're heavy as well. 55 minutes from 355 in and 35 in from the Tri-State. On the Edens inbound, 47. Kennedy going out 38 to Montrose, slower in the express lanes, about an hour to the airport, 54 in from O'Hare into downtown. On the Eisenhower out to Mannheim, expect 58 minutes, an hour 20 to the Jane Addams. Coming in from I-90, an hour 23, 43 between Mannheim and downtown. On our Southside Expressways, the Dan Ryan leaving the Jane Byrne interchange, no relief, packed in all the way to the split, 53 minutes to get out that way, 17 minutes inbound. I-57 going out at 22 minutes. Slight delays on the Bishop Ford coming inbound toward the Dan Ryan. Typical backups on DuSable Lakeshore Drive on either side, really between Graham Park and the Gold Coast. And we're looking pretty busy on the southbound side, getting into Hyde Park as well. All the tollways are pretty heavy, but no major standouts as far as crashes or stalls go. Typical delays along I-80 through Joliet on both sides and through Tinley Park, and delays in northwest Indiana on both sides of 8094. Next report, 458, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
WBBM AccuWeather will have increasing clouds early on tonight. So it will turn out to be a mostly cloudy night for the most part. Areas of fog developing late, which could lead to a few slick spots, especially south and west of the city. A low close to 30. Then back to some sunshine for tomorrow, a high of 37. 39 degrees at O'Hare right now, 37 at Midway, 33 in Downers Grove, 39 at the lakefront. We're going down to 30 later tonight. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Chicago's only station dedicated to news around the clock. News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Tuesday, time for this week's Difference Maker, and today it's one of the state's few black certified professional midwives who's working to address racial disparities in maternal health. Here's WBBM's Carolina Garibay.
Star August Ali says her journey towards midwifery was born out of a traumatic experience giving birth to her first child 16 years ago.
I just remember waking up from a drug-induced coma to find my son being resuscitated on a table next to me. Something that completely could have been prevented, and unfortunately this happens to be the story of a lot of women of color, specifically black women in the United States.
In Illinois, black women are 3 times as likely to die from pregnancy-related medical conditions than white women, according to the Illinois Department of Public Health, and 91% of pregnancy-related deaths were potentially preventable. Ali says much of this is due to the obstetric desert that exists in Illinois, specifically on Chicago's south side.
I was like, I need to get a workforce of midwives up as quickly as possible to be able to offer families autonomy, cultural congruency of care, options, bodily autonomy.
And that's how the Black Midwifery Collective was formed. Ali says,
so they keep talking about these deserts, but when you get carjacked, murdered, killed, your kids are given drugs, they're recruited into gangs, and then the gangs are celebrated because they give out some food and toys on a corner. Yeah, I don't think I want to live there or work there, would you? Would you? How many people have been murdered inside of neighborhoods that are retired or working or are providing services? Or they drive a nice car, right? Or they wear nice clothes. How about those 2 jewelry guys in Little Village? 2 hardworking guys murdered before the holiday season by some criminal gang members, right? Who killed them for some jewelry or a car or some popcorn. Then these white liberals, that was a look, I'm white. That was a white liberal talking. Oh, there's a desert there. Well, fucking take care of the fucking crime. Put people in prison. Put them in drug rehab. If they don't want to go to drug rehab, you go to jail. If you don't want to go to jail, you go to the army. You get to choose. Rehab, jail, or the army. Whatever you do. You don't get a choice for freedom. You can't sleep on a sidewalk, man. The sidewalk is the public way. But yet we have a pro-criminal government. The lady you listen to, she gets money from Brandon Johnson. He gives her those, it's called programming money. It's not institutional money. Those are bribes. Those are grants. I've been in that whole sphere in all my life. I know that stuff, right? I was also in an institution. I worked for Chicago Public Schools. I've worked for the teachers union, right? So I understand the dynamics of institutional spending versus program spending. What she's talking about is program spending. You put a clinic there. That's what you do. Oh, well, they cut the clinic costs. Well, yeah, they cut the clinic costs because they're giving gangbangers checks. That's why. Because Governor Pritzker just took a couple of $1 billion for himself to set up a new regional northern transportation bike lane organization, right? That whole regional thing is for bike lanes. That's what it is. I'm sorry, I'm into traffic, right? That's the way it goes. But that's what I'm talking about, right? We listen to these things, and we listen as tribes about our own group, right? Whether you're black, Hispanic, gay, trans, pink, nose tattoo, whatever you got. I'm an Eastern European, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this one. We're all Americans and we're in Chicago right now. That's what we should think about, right? So first of all, they divide us on tribal lines, right? What tribe do you go with? And you go so small that everybody now is what? Then they say they clamoring for what? Crumbs. So then what happens? The bike guys say something, so they give the bike guys some things. The cars, forget the cars, they got money. People drive and they go to work. Most workers don't have time for this crap. It's crap. When these politicians take money and they create a new organization like a Northern Illinois Transportation, whatever, that's crap. That's a theft of tax dollars. It's thievery. That's what that guy is. Pritzker is a thief. Here, I'll say this. I'm going to dig up old articles we have. How does the Chicago Teachers Union align with a billionaire? That's the first problem. They keep talking about billionaires, but yet there's a billionaire governor. We're going to see the next election. Does the Chicago Teachers Union support Pritzker? What do they keep saying about Trump? The billionaires, the oligarchs. Pritzker is a billionaire oligarch. He is the definition of it. Did he put any migrants in his hotel? Absolutely not. No, he didn't. He didn't put any migrants in his hotels. Does his family make money off of transgender issues? Absolutely. They're heavily invested in transgender medicines especially. That's why he pushes those laws. There's a whole documentary on these scams. Yet, the teachers union who says, oh, we're against the Kings, they support JB, who what? All his laws during COVID were rejected by the courts. And his gun laws were rejected by the courts. So who's the king here, right? Who are we fooling, right? That's the point I'm trying to make here with this little, what I'm talking about, right? Our money is being stolen. And it's being given to people. They steal our money and they give it to people. So then somebody gets on the radio and says, oh, there's a midwifery desert. Like, huh? Yeah, why doesn't the state, instead of paying for some new regional transportation board, why doesn't it take that money and create a clinic there for the African American ladies? Why didn't they do that? Why didn't it? The PSI Quantum. What did that black guy just say? That was a black guy talking. He says, we need investment in our community. Well, instead of a PSI Quantum 500, I think they're giving them a $500 million tax break or something and all kinds of other freebies, right? Why don't we use that money and build a clinic there? Why don't we take our TIF money and build a clinic in the community? Why are we doing it's called programmatic versus institutional. And see, they confuse people. They give you a crumb and you say, ooh, That's a crumb. You know, I'm going to work on getting a piece of bread. Why don't you work on having a bakery? Why don't you work on being the wheat farmer, right? Why are you thinking about getting a piece of bread? A piece of bread you're going to eat and it's going to be gone. You need to make a factory. You need to make fields with the wheat. You need flour mills. See all those things what I'm talking about? Those are sustainable. When you have wheat, a flour mill, and then a bakery, now you can eat for every day of the year. Not only can you eat, you can sell bread to your neighbors, or you can trade bread to your neighbors for cars, for shoes, for clothes, for meat. See, we don't make nothing anymore in our society, especially in Chicago. If you look at all old stuff, almost everything that we have in our household was at one time made in Chicago, including cars, including trains, including airplanes. We used to make airplanes in Chicago. The Ford City Mall made airplanes for World War II. Does everybody know that? We used to make cars. We made furniture. We made clothes. We made food. We were the center of the food industry for the world. When the stockyards was written, the jungle and all that, we supplied meat to the whole world. Not just our country, the whole world. At one time, we used to supply wheat to the whole world. What happened to that? What happened to that? What happened to us being an economic industrial power? We were ripped off. We were ripped off by lazy scumbags, carpetbaggers. We got a lady that's trying to take Jan Schakowsky's ski. She's from Texas. Her parents are millionaires. Brian Shitsko, he's married to a millionaire. His wife's parents are millionaires. He don't even live in Pilsen. He lives in the South Loop. Yes, I'm going to say that right here. That's the rumor. Brian Shitsko lives in the South Loop. It isn't a rumor that his wife's family has millions. It's just like Jesse Sharkey, the quote communist. He's married to a billionaire that owns Prince Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. And he's talking about the working class, power to the people. Jackson Potter, the vice president of the union, his mom made $4 million from black teachers who were fired. You know how much the black teacher got that was fired for working 30 years in the system? 10 grand. Here's a lawyer that made $4 million off the case. Each teacher got only 10 grand. It should have been reversed. She should have got 10 grand and the teacher should have got 4 million each. It didn't happen that way. See how these people are? They trick people. They use language, and if the language don't work, what do? They throw a little migrants in there. Then they throw a little fentanyl in there. They throw a little bit of homeless in there. They throw some stabbings in there, right? Some mass killings. Do you know Chicago had the biggest mass killing in its history this summer? That Buzz Cox mass shooting and killing was the biggest mass shooting in Chicago's history. In Chicago's history. This year, July 3rd. Do you know why NASCAR isn't coming? They don't want to be associated with a mass shooting. That was NASCAR weekend. Everybody remember that or no? You already forget that. We had a mass shooting in the Loop. 9 people were just shot 3 weeks ago. We never had that ever in our history. Not even during Al Capone times did they do that kind of crazy shit. We're worse than Al Capone times. We had a shooting, an AK-47 shooting inside of our airport. I just put it on the post. We've had students killed on school grounds. The last 3-4 years, we had multiple murders on school grounds. We've never had that. Benito Juarez, God rest those souls. You can say there were gangs and whatever. 2 kids were murdered on school grounds. The first thing Jadine Chow said, who was the head of security, said, oh, it didn't happen on school grounds. She lied. The first thing she did is lie. First thing they said about the lady that was burned alive on the train, oh, there was a fight. She was fighting with somebody. That's the first thing they do is they lie. Crystal Rivera, shot in her back by her ex-boyfriend. Shot in the back by her ex-boyfriend, cop. First thing they said on the radios, and we have the radio calls, it's on our page. We're looking for suspects. They already knew who shot her. They already knew who shot her. They were right there. You can kind of tell if you got shot in the back or in the front. I don't know if anybody knows about bullets. You watch enough shooting shows, haven't you? You can kind of tell. Did she get shot in the back? Well, how did the guy shoot her in the back if it was facing her with a gun? The only person that was in back of her was her partner. Yeah, they lied about that. The first thing the police department did is lie. Laquan McDonald, 16 shots. It's the first thing they did is lie. First thing they did is lie. What has changed since Laquan McDonald? Nothing. You got a guy saying he's a progressive, black nationalist, revolutionary communist, whatever he says he is. He's a fake Fed. That's what he is. He's a narc. Brandon Johnson's a narc. He's a government agent. He always has been. He always will be. You look at his record. That man's worked for the government all his life. He used to go to Africa and South America to mess with the natives there and Christianize them. Why don't you look up his record? Who paid for Brandon Johnson's trips to Africa and to South America? Figure that one out. Huh? How do you go when you're 18, 19-year-old to Africa and South America? What was he doing there, right? Look at his pictures of his churches and all that. Go look at what was going on when he was a young man. Don't get fooled by what they tell you. You got to start looking at things. And don't even listen to me. I don't care you listen to me or not. I give you guys the information. You want to use it, you don't. I'm talking while you're seeing a video. We're in the dope spot. They just busted a guy here in the dope spot with a pistol. Did you see that one? We just posted it. This is a dope spot. You know, when I say it's a dope spot, people say you're lying, you're cheating, you're making us look bad, you're doing all kinds of bullshit excuses. All kinds of bullshit excuses. All kinds of lies. All kinds of lies. This is a dope spot. That's what it is. Got it? They're cleaning it up. Why? Because it's Christmas. They can't have dope heads around here into Christmas. This is a main train line, right? Plus, they got the Bears not running their games, right? So they need to clean the dope clinics, the dope stuff here, right? There's been I've seen guys overdosing right there. Right there, I've seen them overdosing. You can say, John, man, you're excited. Look at you talking. Yeah, I am. When I get threatened for my life every single day, when people threaten my family every single day, some guy just said, I hate Chicago on Twitter. Like, huh? The guy ain't even from the city. He's some left-wing cyber terrorists. You know, they arrest those Chinese guys. I'm going to repost these stories. You know, over the last few years, you know, they arrest Chinese and Iranian cyber terrorists. They create these forums and these narratives where people, what they do is, this is what the teachers union used to do. They create templates. And what they do is they put it there in certain places where they know there's extremists or mentally disturbed people. And then they share it. There's people who do that. Do you know they've been gone to prison? They've been federally charged in our society for doing that. Do you know it's illegal to do that? If you're concertedly, actively trying to overthrow our government or cause harm or cause violence, that's a federal offense. And if you're doing that through the internet, threatening people, saying the country's bad. Look at these now. We have the Jewish people being killed all over the world, right? That was the Gaza protest. That's the Chicago Teachers Union. They did that. The Chicago Teachers Union activated all those terrorists. They were the ones who did that. The Gaza people. Don't you remember all those Gaza protests? Did you forget those? Where they were attacking the Jewish students on campus? And Northwestern, everybody says, oh, poor Northwestern, they lost $75 million in a fee or whatever Trump did. Trump should have decertified the university. He should have decertified them for the crime they did against the Jews. No matter what you think about the Jewish culture or ethnicity or your biases, that's your problem. You can't single out a group and then be on a university campus and then you let people attack them. They were the school, University of Chicago, same thing. DePaul has a whole list. I don't know how to check it. They have a whole evidence list of how their students were threatened to be killed. The universities did nothing to protect these people. Just like this place. How many drug overdoses and killings and carjackings did we have in this area till they finally did something here? Why? Because of Christmas? Why? Because of Christmas? We just had a stabbing down the street on Wabash. We're going to go down there. I'll show you where it's at. Oh, what's that guy doing? He's walking in the middle of the street, right? These are all connected pieces. They're all connected. They're not disjointed. They're not separate. They're all connected. That's the problem here, right? When the governor takes money from people who drive cars and then gives it to somebody who wants to ride the train or wants to ride a bicycle, that's not taxation, that's theft. That's theft. He's stealing. He's stealing. When you take a factory that somebody built and then you give it to somebody else, that's stealing. If the workers build a factory and they build it themselves, then that's their factory. But when somebody builds a factory and then you say, oh, the workers built it and we're going to steal it and nationalize it, well, that's theft. That's theft. So when a communist tells you, oh, yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that, and they allow drugs, pornos, thefts, killings, sleeping on sidewalks, or you're part of a union and you support illegal immigration. How does a union support illegal immigration? Aren't you supposed to protect American jobs? When I grew up, I thought unions were supposed to protect jobs, American jobs, yet these unions like SEIU, Chicago Teachers Union, AFL-CIO, Unite One, they're pro-illegal immigration. I don't even understand that one. Did anyone ever figure that one out? How does an American union support illegal immigration? Doesn't that undermine your membership base? Doesn't it reduce the earning power of people who are here legally? That doesn't even make sense. Think about what I just said. There's American unions like the Chicago Teachers Union, SEIU Healthcare, SEIU 73, Unite One. I think even some of the Teamsters guys were doing this, but they stayed careful. The Teamsters are careful. Imagine a union that says they support illegal immigration. That don't make sense. They're against their own members. Yet we have it. Go look it up. Look up Chicago Teachers Union. Look them up. They're supposed to be for union jobs. They're supposed to be for making good money, for making good benefits, yet they're for... So who are those people then? That's the thing that you got to start thinking about, right? Or we have to start thinking. I'm sorry to talk that way. I have to start thinking about. I have to start looking at it even more closely. Why would they do that? Why would there be an abandoned university here? Robert Morris Center, Robert Morris University. You see that university there? That's abandoned there. It's abandoned. It's been abandoned almost 10 years now. And then down the street, you have the Standard Club where you put all the migrants. This place is actually bigger. You could confiscate it because it was a public. It was public. Universities are public. It's a private public university, right? You could have put all the migrants in there. You could have put all the homeless in there in all of downtown. All of the homeless that were in downtown, including all of the migrants, could have fit into that building. Right there. How come there's people sleeping in cardboard boxes right there on that sidewalk right next to it right now? There's a cardboard box right there. Don't you see it? See the cardboard box? Right there. That's an abandoned building. Yet, the communist, progressive, black nationalist who says he's power to the people don't use that building for homeless blacks, does he? He gives that building over there, that's the Standard Club. That's a convicted tax frauder. The guy who owns that Standard Club was convicted of tax evasion. He gives him millions of dollars for migrants. And we have videos where blacks try to get in there and they wouldn't let a black homeless guy in there. We have those videos. We watched that place for 2.5 years. But they allowed the migrants in there. And now we have a migrant murder problem in downtown. We have a drug problem in downtown, right? What are these people doing? What's their end game, right? What is the end game to do Gaza protests? What is the end game to say we need illegal immigrants? What is the end game to say, yeah, we don't want to blow up Venezuelan drug boats? Why wouldn't you want to blow up a Venezuelan drug boat? I get it. It might be illegal. The laws of warfare and blah, blah, blah. I get that. I get it. I understand that. But as a regular dude that watches people on drugs on a daily basis when I do my work, yeah, maybe we should blow up a couple of those drug boats. You're bringing drugs into a society, whether it's America or not. So we're giving drug traffickers rights over what, more than our own citizens? Look at this, downtown is empty, man. It's 5:14 p.m. on a beautiful Tuesday. It's 40 degrees. There ain't nobody here. Look, it's abandoned, man. Why? You just had a stabbing here last night. Last night there was a stabbing right here. We're gonna go by the stabbing. The one that said they didn't have it on the CTA. While the police department, communications department lies about what happens. Krista Rivera was shot in the back by her partner. They knew it happened when it happened. They knew it happened when it happened. Yet they lied about it. They lied about it. On the radio, they said, oh, we're looking for suspects. Like, suspects for what? Her partner shot her in the back. And they went and pretended, and they did all of this stuff to pretend that someone else did it. Why would you do that? Schnelling went on the TV the next day and he said they were looking for a suspect. He didn't recant that for a day or two. I'm gonna double check my records. I watched that case really carefully. It's a Laquan McDonald all over again. Laquan McDonald happened under Rahm. That's 3 mayors ago. We have a black progressive CTU mayor supposedly, right? And we're doing Laquan McDonald stuff, lying, 16 shot stuff. We're doing 16 shots again under Brandon Johnson, lying. Huh? Everybody knows what 16 shots means, right? They covered that case up. Was he high on PCP? Did he have a knife? Were they scared, the cops? Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I don't know, man. I wasn't a cop. I wasn't in that situation. But shooting a guy 16 times while he's on the ground? And that wouldn't be the worst of it, but they lie about it. Krista Rivera, they lied about that case. They lied about the CTA arson. It's still up. Do you know the Chicago police still on their communications website still have that was an argument between her and the guy that tried to kill her? Lawrence Reed, right? Do you know that statement is still up, that there was an argument? That statement is still up by the Chicago Police Department. That a young woman who was riding on a train who almost died because some dude threw gasoline on her and said, die. He went purposefully to buy gasoline to burn somebody. And he picked her. He didn't pick no one else. He picked her. I'm not going to get into the racial aspect of it because people get upset when I do that kind of stuff, right? He picked her. And you know what? The police said that she started an argument with him. That's what the Chicago police said. The feds said it didn't happen that way. So how many more lies do we got to get? So that's Krista Rivera lie. CTA arson lie. American homeless man murdered on Wabash. Right? He was murdered by migrants. migrant killers that now are being hidden in the Chicago, in Cook County Jail, right? Why didn't we hand those people over to ICE? Why don't we put them up for federal charges of execution, right? These are think about this. These migrants are here illegally. They killed an American, whether he's homeless or had a criminal record on whatever he's did with these guys, whatever. Illegal migrants in Chicago murdered an American man on Wabash. It's right down the street here. I'll show you that's where we're going right now, right? And they're hiding them in the Cook County Jail. Tom Dart is hiding them. Yeah, Tom Dart, you're an asshole, bro. Yeah, Tom Dart gets on TV pretending he's doing crime fighting right now. Oh, I'm law and order. Nah, he ain't. Hand over all those migrants that are in that jail. There's a bunch of migrants in that jail. They know where they all at. There's a lot of stuff going on in Chicago that we're not keeping track of. Again, there was a stabbing here on Wabash, the same place where that American was murdered 3 weeks ago now. Same exact place. The first thing CPD did, they made a wrong address. And you can say, oh, that was a typo, John. There is no typo of 2800 North Wabash. There is no place like 2800 North Wabash. The second thing is, if you say, oh, they meant South Wabash, there is no orange line on 2800 South Wabash. So there is no mistake. They purposely did that. They purposely tried to mislead the public. Now, if they would have said 280 North Wabash, what would have immediately did a red light? Oh, wow, there was just a murder there 3 weeks ago with a knife. Last night, there was another knife stabbing there of 2 people. Same spot. Same spot. It was the same spot. I know what it is over there. Those are drug dealers. They deal drugs in that corner right there. That's what it is. It's a drug corner. Period. Don't you remember one time I went in that store and they said, what are you trying to put us out of business? You don't remember? I was live. I was just threatened to be killed last week at the chocolate factory. They think that it's my fault that they're losing drug business. When it's Brandon Johnson doing Law and Order. Tom Dart doing Law and Order. And you're saying, well, John, you're not making sense here. You said they're pro-criminal. Why would they be Law and Order? Because they want the power. See, you create the chaos. There's a lot of books written on this. You create a chaos. It's called manufactured crisis. If you don't get a natural crisis like a Katrina, remember when Katrina happened, what did Arnie Duncan say? He says, wow, this is the best thing that can ever happen. We can wipe out all the schools. Don't you remember that? Or at Aceh, right? There's all those studies come out of Aceh, right? There was a big tsunami out there, right? And they studied that, how they took public assets and they privatized them. Now, a tsunami over there in Aceh. It's in, where was that? Was that Indonesia over there? Or Sri Lanka in that area? Southeast Asia? They did a whole study. A whole bunch of guys studied these things. And there was something that happened before that. In Chile, they did that. They call them the Chicago boys. They create these crises, whether it's man-made, like crime and drugs, or immigration, right? Immigration, migrant flow is a man-made crisis. It's not natural. That's not natural. It's man-made. It might have been natural 10,000 years ago when there wasn't borders and people were still doing the herding, right? And they walked around. Maybe like they went across the Bering Strait. The Asians came to America, right? But that's not how it works anymore, because we have borders, we have industry, we have technology where you don't need to move to live, right? Why do you move? Why do people move nowadays? Because they want money. Because there's inflation, there's price increases, there's scarcity. That's all man-made. Or you can have a hurricane, or you can have a tsunami, or you can have a tornado, or you can have flooding like is happening in New York, or you can have wildfires that's happening in California. So you have a man-made or a natural disaster, right? A lot of the things that are happening in Chicago are man-made crises, right? Drugs, homelessness, the migrant issue, the gang issue, crime. So when you have that, if you want to stay in power, what do? Then you say, okay, I'm going to do a little law and order here, right? And that's why you see Brandon shifting a little bit on law and order, right? Didn't he say that the other day when one of the cops was shot, when the cop was shot in his vest? Do you remember the cop shooting that just happened last week? There was a cop shot last week in the chest. You guys remember that or not? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to talk down to you guys. I apologize if you feel that way. This is just the way I talk. A cop was shot last week. Everybody remember that? Do we have information on why that happened? Was a guy shot last week? They were trying to steal cars. Do we have information on that? I'm not taking sides on good and bad here. If the cop shot a guy when he was trying to steal a car, why was he trying to steal a car? Where was he from? Was he in a gang? Was it a car theft gang? Was it was it the people? Was it the folks? Was it the GDs? Was it the Latin Kings? What is the Latin Counts? 226s? Simon City Royals? The Vice Lords? Four Corner Hustlers? Who was it? Who was it? Was it the mob? Was it the outfit? Was it some white supremacists? Who was it? Where did these young black men get these guns from? Who's supplying all these guns to these young black kids? There is no gun store in Chicago. There is no gun store in Chicago. Not one exists. There is none. There is no store in Chicago that sells bullets. None. None. There is no store in Chicago that sells extended magazines. None. By the way, those are against the law in the state. By the way, it's against the law in the whole United States for a 20-year-old to buy a pistol. It's against the law. There you go, man. There's a guy there. Think that dude's homeless right here? Think that guy's homeless? What do you think? Is he homeless? Yes or no? You think that guy's homeless? I don't think so. So, we have to think about those things. Same thing with fentanyl. Same things with meth. Same things with trank and all these weird drugs that are not being manufactured. How does a young kid get that? How does a young black kid get an extended magazine Glock with a switch? Someone gives it to him. Someone brings it into Chicago. Those are all imported things. That guy's messing with everybody walking by there. Everybody that walks by, he messes with them. Oh, well, he ain't bothering people. Yeah, he's bothering people. It's rush hour and he's saying, give me money, man. That's what he's doing. He's not doing it. He says, give me money, right? So we're going down Wabash where somebody was just stabbed here the other day, right? Well, today, last night, less than what, 24 hours ago, right? It was happening last night at 9 o'clock, right down here. Again, where do these kind of things come from? Why don't we hear any investigation? Why don't we talk about the Four Corner Hustlers, the Vice Lords, the Latin Kings, the Latin Counts, the 2-6s? Why don't we talk about them? Or the cartels? Or the white supremacists? Or the Nazis? We got white supremacists in Chicago. There's Nazis here too. There are. Sure there are. There's black gangs, white gangs, there's Asian gangs. There's Southeast Asian gangs too, you know, Indians and Pakistanis, they got their own gangs too. There's Asians, they got their own gangs too. Vietnamese have their own gangs. Cartels, the Irish, the Italians, the Germans, all those people, they got all gangs. Those young guys and some of those old guys are in gangs. They might be anymore or not. There's still the outfit around. There's still the mob, the mafia. Why aren't we talking about that stuff? What's going on in our city? Why is certain things happening? Why is our downtown abandoned? Why do we have stabbings here, right? CWB, hey Jackass, They have good statistics, right? If you read some of their articles, they say that has never happened. Ever. That shooting at the O'Hare Airport, see, we gotta remember these things. There was never a shooting at O'Hare Airport in the history of O'Hare Airport, except once during a training exercise. We had a guy with an AK-47 that went to O'Hare and shot up somebody. Look it up. AK-47 attack, O'Hare Airport. Never happened before in the history of O'Hare. Never, ever happened. Never. We never had 19 people shot in one place in the city of Chicago. Never. We had it July 3rd this year. We never had a double murder on school property in Chicago. Never. We've had multiple ones. We had one here. This is intrinsic. There was a double murder right here. School grounds right here. We're coming up on it. We never had that. This is the 3rd year anniversary of the Benito Juarez mass shooting, double murder on school grounds. On school grounds. The first report is it didn't happen on school grounds. The first report by J.D. and Charles said it did not happen on school grounds. And it did. It did. Do you know they refused to work with the victims' families? Even though the victims were hooked up? So imagine this, you're right there. There was a double murder right there. You see that where the lines are up and down by the elevator? 2 kids right by that sign there. You see that the handicap sign right there? 2 children, 2 kids that were going to that school were murdered right there. Right there in the middle of the day. On a Friday. We just had a murder down the street. We just had another stabbing here. I mean, how many murders have we had on Wabash now in the last couple of years? It's never happened. It's never happened. Here, there. I'll show you a video here. See that? There was a daytime shooting inside of there. Then they said it was mutual combat because the owner or the clerk shot the guy right here. He ran up the stairs and got away on the train. They said, okay, drop the charges. They let the robber go. They dropped the robbery charges because the guy shot him. Look it up. There's video of that one. There's video of that shooting. We got that video. You see, they deal drugs right here. This is a drug dealing area right over here. All down that street where they have the food area, right? Again, why is it allowed? Right there you go. You got the corner bakery cafe closed. Why do I get attacked every day and I said, oh, you're not telling the truth? Well, that's a closed store there, man. There's no truth telling in that. There's a dude that's homeless there. Why is he laying there on the sidewalk every day, right? Oh, you're mean to that homeless guy. I ain't mean to nobody, man. I'm driving around with a video camera in my truck, man. He's lying on the sidewalk. This is where all the murders happen, right around here. This is the bad area. They sell drugs in this area. You got that? And what did I say yesterday in my video? Why are you dealing drugs in public? When you do that, right? Now you're affecting the public good. You're affecting the public safety, right? Got that? They deal drugs here. There was just a stabbing here yesterday in less than 24 hours, right here. You see any cops standing around here? Do you? You see any cops? You know why they stand here selling drugs? Because this is the place to have money, right? Because this is the only place that has food places that are cheap. That's why. People come here from, it's like they stand in front of the 7-Eleven. It's the only spot. This is where that stabbing just happened. This is where the murders happen. Because they stand here. The drug dealers stand here. And you say, oh, they're homeless. They're just asking for money. Oh, man, they're not. You see any cops here? Anybody see a cop? Hey, how many cops have you seen so far? We just had a stabbing in our downtown. Has anybody seen it? There's a whole block empty right there. Has anybody seen a cop yet on my video? Have you seen a cop yet? There was just a stabbing here on Wabash last night. 2 people were stabbed. 2. Not 1, 2. This ain't black and white. This ain't even pro-gang or anti-gang. This is just public safety. People think I'm against this and I'm that. I don't want to be stabbed. I don't want to be threatened. I don't want my kids to be on drugs. How about that? Can I wish for that? I don't want to be stabbed today. I don't want my children to be exposed to fentanyl when they go into the library and there's a fentanyl machine, right? We have 5, 6 libraries that have fentanyl machines now. Fentanyl testing, Narcan, and all that in the libraries. So you're inviting drug addicts and drug dealers into libraries. Yeah, I wish that doesn't happen. I don't want that in my library, right? Am I a little outrageous here to ask those things? I don't know. Let's listen to a little news.
Southwark site. Stephanie Williams lives down the street from the site. She says what the community needs are basic resources, not a quantum facility.
Hospitals, schools, after-school programs. Those are the things that people need. Job development. Why would quantum facility, and if you paid attention to the history of those data centers, they don't leave anything good wherever they're developed.
This week, the community submitted nearly 300 signatures demanding a referendum on the March 2026 ballot. South Shore resident Jerry Worley.
We are not asking for permission to exist in our own neighborhood. We are demanding the right to decide what happens in them. This referendum is about who Chicago is built for. The people are watching, the people are voting, and the people will have the final say.
Carolina Garibay, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
Out of Los Angeles, where prosecutors say Rob Reiner's son Nick will be charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the stabbing deaths of his parents. Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hockman has more on the charges.
These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty.
Nick Reiner's attorney said medical reasons kept his client from making his first court appearance today. The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, says he will not release video of that controversial boat strike to the American public.
After briefing senators with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Hegseth says members of the 2 armed services committees will get to see the video, but he's not saying if all lawmakers will. And,
of course, we're not going to release a top secret, full unedited video of that to the general public.
The 2 secretaries defended the boat strikes and growing military escalation off Venezuela as helping stop drugs from reaching the U.S. Bipartisan investigations are looking into the strikes, and California Democrat Adam Schiff is among those questioning how it's all being done.
I found the legal explanations and the strategic explanations incoherent.
Schiff says he'll push for the Senate to vote on making the video public. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Now to Australia, where officials say the gunmen who attacked a Hanukkah celebration were inspired by ISIS. The terror attack on the world-famous Bondi Beach killed 15 people and wounded dozens more. Anna Karen has more on the heroes who tried to stop the gunmen.
Captured on a dash cam moments before the carnage began, Bondi local Boris Gurman is seen grabbing a rifle from one of the gunmen who was getting weapons from the car. An ISIS flag draped across the windscreen. Gurman is shot dead on the footpath. Seconds later, his wife Sophia is also killed. The couple were the first victims in the shooting spree targeting the Jewish community. They could have been more deadly had it not been for these acts of heroism.
15 people died, dozens more wounded in the attack. The 50-year-old gunman was shot and killed by police. His 24-year-old son is being treated for gunshot wounds. Coming up in a minute, low gas prices, traffic, and weather together. It's 5:36.
There's nothing like hearing holiday music played by a world-renowned orchestra and chorus. Head to Orchestra Hall, decked in bells of holly, for a program of popular carols and holiday favorites.
Hi, who's activating these terrorists? We just had that. You guys forget about the terrorists in California. They were going to blow up our stuff during New Year's, right? Who's activating these people? These transgender terrorists. There's a bunch of transgender terrorists. You know, when I write transgender terrorists, I get attacked immediately and say that I don't even know what that is. Then you can't be Are you a racist if you say transgender terrorist? Is that racism? No. Is it? I don't even know what that is. They call me something weird. Like, yeah, we're a transgender and they're a terrorist. That one that shot up the Catholic school down in Tennessee, right? There's a couple of them. They shot up nightclubs. There was one in Colorado. There was one down in Florida, I believe. You know, there's a couple of these they're called Zikas or Zix, Zibs, Zabs or something like that. There's a transgender terrorist organization. That dude's jacked up over there. Yeah, they're an armed terrorist group. How come the mainstream media don't talk about that, huh? But it doesn't fit the narrative, right? It doesn't fit what they want. And I'm going to tell you this. News media, most of them are part of the unions. Most media in Chicago, the big guys, Sun-Times, Tribune, ABC, CBS, all these guys, right? They're part of the same union. They're part of the CFL, Chicago Federation of Labor. The biggest contributor to the Chicago Federation of Labor is the Chicago Teachers Union. So if you're a reporter that writes against some of this stuff, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get kicked out of the union. And if it's a union shop, you lose your job. You know what a union shop is? You have to be part of the union. If you get kicked out of the union, you lose your job. That's how that works. Now with Janice, it might be a little bit different. I think I'm going to be a little quiet here. I've been talking too much. Xenophobic. Oh, okay, that's what I am. All right, whatever. Whatever, I guess. Xenophobic is racial, isn't it? I guess I'll check my xenophobic card and how come I sleep with an Asian woman every night, right? I have biracial children. I guess I don't like her, right? That's why I sleep with her for 30 years, right? I guess. And that's why I go over to my family, my in-laws and stuff that are Mexican, right? Because I'm xenophobic. Oh, see, that proves you're racist. That proves you're racist. Yeah, okay, bros. There you go. How about that? You like that? Oh, you like that in the middle of downtown? How about that one? This one's abandoned. We did stories on this store. We got a year, 2 years, 3 years of this. Someone said they're remodeling. And I'm picking on this place. Look at this whole place is abandoned, man. We're not talking about it's closed for the weekend. This is abandoned here, man. It's been like that. We got videos of this going back, what, a year or two? Oh, it's the market, whatever, COVID, remote work, whatever. Oh yeah, isn't that, who was Ken Griffin? Citadel? Didn't they make fun of him leaving? They said, oh, F him. Remember that, those days? Didn't Brandon Johnson say, oh, we don't need them? $1 billion industry? Didn't the other guys leave too? Citadel and CME left too, and someone said, oh, they were in a big company. Well, yeah, they did billions of dollars of stuff. They were here since the beginning of the trades in Chicago. And people made fun of me when I was saying that's bad. Transphobic. Oh, okay, I'm transphobic. Yeah, whatever. I don't think so.
But the investigation notes
I'll write about transphobia once.
Part in an experiment. Rob Hart, News Radio 105.9 WBBM.
A court case tied to the 2020 presidential election remains on the agenda in Wisconsin.
The charges relate to attempts by the former aides to present a slate of Republican electors to Congress, falsely claiming that President Trump had won Wisconsin in 2020, even though he lost to Democrat Joe Biden. The Wisconsin case is moving forward even as others in the battleground states of Michigan and Georgia have stalled. Last year, a special prosecutor dropped a federal case alleging Trump conspired to overturn the 2020 election. A Dane County Circuit judge ruled that there was probable cause to proceed with the 11 felony forgery charges against Jim Tropis, who is Trump's campaign attorney in Wisconsin, and Mike Roman, Trump's director of Election Day operations in 2020. I'm Haya Punjwani.
At the editor's desk today, Patrick Rushman, and later Susan Glick, our writer, Cecilia Fargakis, assistant producers, Harrison Hanneman and Eric Berlin. Traffic producer is Anton Peters, and our broadcast managing editor is Zach Weber. It's 5:42.
Go! Bears! Maybe you shouldn't have gone shirtless in this weather.
It's a nice Bears jacket.
Oh, thanks. I bought it with the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gives exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise.
It looks so soft and warm. Can you get discounts on gloves?
Yeah.
Face covers?
Sure.
This is socks?
Yeah. Wait, why would you not wear socks?
Find out more at pnc.com/bearscard. PNC Bank, the official bank of the Chicago Bears. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC. Visa is a registered trademark of Visa International Service Association and used under license.
And it's funny. People say, I knew you were this, a MAGA. And now lately, the last few weeks, I knew you were left, blah, blah, blah. First of all, we're news, man. First of all, we're news. We report whatever we report, right? I have been saying this for a while. Why haven't the Republicans investigated the migrant money? Where did all those billions, because there was billions spent. Billions were spent. Billions with a big B. Not only in Chicago, but all over the country. How come we haven't investigated where all that money went? And remember, the Republicans are in power now. They're in what? The president, the Senate, and the House. They can easily have an investigatory meeting. And all of that money is traceable because it's all government money. A lot of it came from the feds. Some of it might have been COVID money misused, right? We don't know yet because no one's done an investigation. But if you've done any kind of corruption work in the government, all government money is traceable because it's got budget lines and it has to have an invoice receipt. And the way unless it's corruption, the way government money works, it gets spent by allocation, right? So you have a budget line and it says, where is it going? And before it goes there, you got to get that. It's not a requisition. It's something else. I forget how it goes. Transmittals. That's what it's called, a transmittal. Yeah, there you go. Anybody work with the government? I work with the government. I work with Chicago Public Schools for many years, right? You track spending because everything has a budget. Now, what they do is if they dump it into a bucket, what they do is they dump it in the buckets. And then they just distribute it a different way. That's what the Chicago Teachers Union did. That's why they don't want to give up their audits, right? Because they had $8.8 million in reserves. What they did is they gave that to Madigan for the power, right? That's why they're in power now in City Hall. And they don't want to disclose how did they distribute the $8.8 million that we had in reserves at the Teachers Union, which was almost 10 years ago or so now. That was when Christine Maley was the treasurer. She saved all that money. She was a spendthrift, right? So how did we go through $8.8 million that quick, right? Well, if you have these budget lines, these kind of generic budget lines or kind of places where you throw the money in and you distribute it to someone or an NGO, right? Like the Catholic Charities, right? You give $1 billion to the Catholic Charities, say, hey, Catholic Charities is responsible for that. Well, guess what? The Catholic Charities then are, since they're a private organization, they're a private NGO, right? They don't have the disclosure requirements that the government does. The government has to publish stuff. It's like I just told you about Quantum PSI, that thing that those Southeast Siders are arguing against. You can look it up. Look up PSI Quantum Substance News, SubX.News. The governor of Illinois said it's private, the deal they made with Quantum. That I asked specifically for the water rights. What is the water rights agreement? Now that's our lake. We own that lake, right? The Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. What are you doing, man, Kia boy? We own that water, right? We should just go forward, man. Let's go over there. traffic is really bad. All right, we own the water. Our government, what? The people own the water, right? It's government water rights. I don't know what's the shorelines or whatever that is. So if you got a company that's coming in that's going to use, I don't know, they say billions of gallons of water like a day sometimes. And I'm serious. To make one computer chip, they have to use hundreds of gallons of water. It cools it off. Read up on it. Read up on, I don't know what it's called, microchip making or whatever you call it. Google it. They'll tell you right away what it is. Here, I'll do it right now. Let's see if I can do this here. That's why they want to be in that location. That's why U.S. Steel is there, to cool off the steel. That's why they... How many gallons of water does it take? I'm Googling this, right? My computer. How many gallons of water does it make to make a computer chip? Oh man, I'm discombobulated as I'm driving and talking. How many gallons of water does it take to make a super chip? $10 gallons of water. You want to see? And that's right there for one 10 gallons. $10 gallons of water for one little microchip. You understand why they want to be on Lake Michigan? You understand when I asked, where's the water rights? They said it's a non-disclosure agreement. Those residents are right. Why are you giving them, I think it's $500 million. I think it's a $500,000 some kind of tax incentive something. We don't even know all of that either. And that's why the residents say, why don't you give us the money? And then in a news report, just a minute or two later, they say, oh, we need what did she say, for maternity, the midwives. There's no natal care, delivery care facilities on it. It's a desert. Didn't she just say that? So wait up. You have the same liberal media saying we need to build these supercomputers here for free, right? We're going to give this land and this water for free to these people. And we're going to give them a $500 million tax incentive or whatever we're going to do. And then in the next breath, you got some white liberal lady saying, oh yeah, there's a desert here, right? There's a, whatever it is, right? A pregnancy desert or whatever, natal care desert, right? Kind of strange, isn't it? Why would those two be separate, distinct issues? They're not. They're the same. You're given... And think about this. If you're left-leaning or progressive, or even a normal person that thinks a normal way, right? Think about this. And I should write this. I mean, maybe I'll get this off of the transcripts tonight and I'll write this up tomorrow. Think about this. We have a natural lake that's ours. We own the lake, right? Whatever. It's the people's lake. And then we talk about nativism, and the natives own it, and the Indians own it, blah, 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 blah. All that colonial crap, right? There you go, man. There's another empty business. Look at that. There's another empty business. Look at that. See that there? You have all these anti-capitalist, communist progressives saying the oligarchs, the bad people, and then you got some out-of-town. PSI Quantum is actually hooked up with BlackRock. They're a subsidiary of them. They're military contractor, by the way. Did I mention that to you? That's already been researched. We have that all on our page. So you're this progressive, liberal, anti-capitalist, anti-war, anti-warmongering government, right? Pritzker, CTU, and then you're making a $500 million tax deal with a private out-of-country military contractor. Same thing happened with the migrant shelters, right? Those are all military contractors. Guardia World is a military contract. Everybody researched Guardia World. They were part of the Iraq stuff, where they killed civilians. Their subsidiary company, the company above them, right? Let's see if there's any drugs. Oh man, they cleaned this whole spot up. Look at that. They cleaned it all up, huh? There's somebody over there. There. See that there? He's all jacked up, that guy. So just frame that in your head. Stop thinking about Kugler and gangs and drugs and threats and killings and murderings and all of that crazy stabbings and CTAs. Just stop that thinking for a while. Take a drink. You got a coffee, you got a tea, you got a cognac. Maybe you got some Don Julio, whatever you're doing right now. Just relax. Maybe even you're smoking a weed, right? Smoke your weed now. Take a puff, relax. Let everybody take a deep breath here, right? So, did you take a deep breath? Exhale. Don't hold it in too long. So, think about it. And hey, what's up, everybody? You're back again, right? So think about this. Yeah, there's a way to get there, but it's illegal. I've gone Lower Wacker. You ride along the trail. There's a way to get to McCormick Place underneath the city, but it's kind of illegal. I've done it once. I got a video somewhere. I'll show you. Right. Cleaning this place up a little bit, right? So, everybody relax. You take your cognac, you smoke your reefer joint, you did all of that. Now I'm going to say this and then we're going to put on the news a little bit. So you relax, right? You're not jacked up, right? Because the way I talk, I jack people up, right? That's just how I am. That's my personality. So everybody's relaxed now, right? You got your cognac, you got your weed, you exhaled, you're chilling, you're sitting in your chair, you're going, okay, let's see what this dude's going to do now, man. Let's see what kind of stupid shit he's gonna do. He's talking some crazy shit again, man. So think about this. You're anti-capitalist, communist, progressive, black nationalist. Power to the people. Why are you making a deal with a military contractor to give away our natural resources on the lake? And giving away, as you just heard, those protesters on the east side said you're giving them our money. And you didn't even, oh, by the way, you didn't even let us vote on it. You didn't let the people decide this issue. I've been to those meetings. I've been there. We live fed those meetings, the first few meetings about that, if you look on our page. But think about it. You're a progressive, communist, black nationalist, power to the people, anti-capitalist, pro-Gaza, anti-imperialism, blah, 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 blah. All of you mark all of the litmus tests of a true, quote, revolutionary. You're making a deal with a military contractor Ponzi scheme to give away our natural resources. That's not going to give any black person on the southeast side a job. Not even one. Not one. Not one. I asked in the meeting, I said, how many kids are going to get jobs here? CPS students, right? They said, oh, well, yeah, maybe they can do an intern or some they lied. They said some weird shit. They're gonna do an intern or some crazy crap, they said. See that? There's homeless guys right there. Now we got expensive stuff right here. But think about that, right? You have a communist progressive. I'm going to say it, repeat it one more time. Communist, progressive, black nationalist, power to the people, anti-imperialism, don't rip off the people, the voice of the people. There you go, man. You got the tow trucks are towing the tourist cars right there. See that? Participatory budgeting, voice budgeting, and all that other crap what they say. LGBTQ, penis budgeting, whatever the crap they make the tomorrow, right? They make up stuff. That's what they do. They sit around giggling, making stuff up every day. So why would you make a deal with a military contractor for our natural resources? White military contractors on top of it. At least pick a black military contractor or a Mexican military contractor. How about that? Look into PSI Quantum. Look at that. This all came out when the migrant situation was happening in our Chicago when it was bad. We were paying Guardia World and their subsidiaries, which are military contractors. Go look that stuff up. Brandon Johnson signed contracts with these people. He extended the contracts. Why would he do that? Why would an anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist politician sign a contract with an imperialist military contractor? It's kind of strange, isn't it? Yeah, look it up. And those of you who say, oh, I'm this and that, and John's this and that, and he's anti this, and he's anti that, and look at this and look at that, yeah. Especially you gangbangers out there, man. You wait. He's got something in store for you guys. That's why I gave you guys that lecture yesterday at the end of my video. Look at my yesterday's video. I just reposted it. Remember, I do a live video. The next day I post the recording, right? Because the Facebook erases them after 30. You go look at my video from yesterday. Where can I go? Oh, man. I don't know where the heck I'm going right now. Go look at my video from yesterday. I explain it very carefully. You guys that are doing that stuff need to straighten up, man, because he's coming after you. Got that? He's going to come after you. And if J.D. Vance wins, which I think he will, he's anti-drugs. So is Trump. They're anti-drugs. They're anti-military, technically. Remember, Trump was against the Iraq war in the beginning. I don't know. I don't think he's a war hawk. Because, why? He's a businessman. This is some news. That's enough talking for me.
A suspect is still on the loose 4 days after the shooting deaths of 2 students and the wounding of 9 others at Brown University. CBS's Katrina Kaufman on the release of a new enhanced video of the suspect.
We see him slowly walking around on these streets as he made his way to that engineering building where the shooting ultimately took place.
Providence Chief of Police Oscar Perez.
We want to focus on the body movements, the way the person moved their arms, the body posture, the way they carry the weight.
President Trump says on social media he is ordering a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers into and out of Venezuela, ramping up pressure on embattled President Nicolas Maduro. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles pushes back against a Vanity Fair article.
For starters, the Vanity Fair article quotes Susie Wiles as critical of Attorney General Pam Bondi's handling of the Epstein case and describes Vice President J.D. Vance as a conspiracy theorist.
Sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true.
Speaking in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Vance defended Wiles.
I've never seen her be disloyal to the President of the United States, and that makes her the best White House Chief of Staff.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt also defended Susie Wiles.
This is, unfortunately, another example of disingenuous reporting,
saying Wiles' words were taken out of context. Linda Kenyon, CBS News, the White House.
President Trump will deliver a live primetime address tomorrow night at 9 Eastern to discuss his accomplishments and future plans. Stocks closed mixed on Wall Street. Now this.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Not only does Progressive let you bundle your insurance, they also give you round-the-clock protection. Quote today at Progressive.
That's the kind of news we need to be hearing about. Vanity Fair, a couple of sleeping with people pictures. Yeah, that's okay. That's normal, man. When you start getting into this other weird stuff, man, it's strange. Again, look into PSI Quantum, research it. We did all the research already for everybody. Just you can Google it. Anybody ever been here? This is a new spot up here. This is not only, I think it's less than 5 years old. Can I get around here?
It's the boost your business deserves.
Look at that. It's beautiful around here, huh? It's expensive.
And get a 5-year price lock on ultra-reliable Wi-Fi. Plus, ask about a $500 prepaid card.
This is the east side, right?
Ends 2/22/26. New customers only. 1-year contract.
River, I think they call this River East.
Monthly service charge excluding taxes and fees. Best Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed broadband experience report May 2025.
The November jobs report shows the U.S. gained 64,000 jobs for the month, up roughly 20,000 from what economists predicted. In October, the U.S. lost more than 100,000 jobs. CBS's Kelly O'Grady explains while the October number seems high, it was expected.
You had those Doge layoffs and a lot of federal government workers take the buyout through the end of September. That hits in October. So that was really expected. And if you sort of take out the private sector, we saw growth of over 50,000.
Unemployment rose slightly in November to 4.6%. A levee fails on the White River in Pacific Washington, prompting evacuation orders for over 200 residents. It happened early this morning, the second breach since yesterday. Fonzie Cole was in the area when emergency crews went door to door and made announcements from a sheriff's helicopter.
Just kind of heard the helicopter and just kind of went from there.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has been trying to reinforce the levee. You're listening to the CBS World News Roundup.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter. Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The dreams linger after no Powerball winner last night.
The Powerball jackpot has grown to an estimated $1.25 billion after no winning numbers were picked for Monday night's drawing.
Your Powerball number tonight, good luck everyone, is 2, and your Power Play multiplier is 4.
It's now the 6th biggest Powerball in history. There have now been more than a dozen lottery jackpot prizes exceeding $1 billion in the U.S. since 2016. The largest was just over $2 billion in November of 2022. Jim Crisula, CBS News.
Dr. Mark Chavez of San Diego, who pleaded guilty in a scheme to supply ketamine to actor Matthew Perry, has been sentenced to 8 months of home confinement. The Friends star died from an overdose in 2023 from ketamine. Chavez had acquired the ketamine and given it to Dr. Salvador Plasencia, who sold it to Perry. Plasencia was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison earlier this month. Time on the roundup, 7 minutes past the hour.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
See, that's what I always ask. Did you hear about that Perry prosecution? And that's an important case. Because why don't we prosecute these drug dealers when people die, right? You know how they, you know how they do these, exoneration cases where they pay them billions of dollars or millions of dollars every time something's wrong, right, in their cases. Well, why aren't we suing these drug dealers? You know how they sue the drug company, they sue the cigarette company. Well, if you catch a drug dealer or a drug trafficker, why aren't we suing them for everything they got, like forever? You kind of get what I'm trying to say here? You know, if you take away everybody's stuff for the rest of their lives, maybe they won't do it anymore. Maybe.
It's delivering your peace of mind.
It's like I keep saying, it doesn't make sense what these politicians do, right? Why would a progressive, communist, black nationalist, power to the people guy be making deals with an imperialist military contractor to take our water from Lake Michigan? It's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? That's making a deal with a billionaire, J.B. Pritzker.
From the Kennedy Junction to Foster at 1835 on the inbound side. Out on the Kennedy, you have a travel time of 22 to Montrose, 3 minutes faster in those express lanes outbound, and 40 minutes out to the airport. Heavy in the express, Belmont to the Edens. Inbound, heavy Cumberland to Harlem. Earlier crash cleared, stays heavy past the Wintrust Mural at North Avenue down to Randolph. 52 O'Hare and 25 coming in from the Edens Junction. Now, if you're on the outbound side of the Eisenhower, we do have delays there as well. Heavy from the Jane Byrne interchange to First, 38 out to Mannheim, 56 to I-90, inbound an hour and 5, heavy past Higgins with 355, York to Harlem, and then Ashland to the Jane Byrne interchange. Stevenson outbound, 30 just to get to Cicero if you're headed to the airport, 48 to 294, an hour and 2 to 355, inbound 53, 355 back in, and 55 Will County southbound, heavy 355 to 53, Dan Ryan out 30, inbound 18, 57 outbound 18, Bishop Ford outbound. That is a 15-minute ride, slow past 130th to the Steel Bridge. 394 is okay. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, heavy on the northbound side, Wacker to Chicago. Southbound heavy past Michigan, Chicago, 50th to 57. Next report from the Metro Traffic Center at 6:18. News Radio 105.9 WBBM. AccuWeather says tonight mainly cloudy, some fog, a low near 30, and tomorrow partly sunny with a high of 37. Warmer still and maybe some rain by Thursday. 36 now at O'Hare, 33 Morris, 35 along the lakefront. The news continues now at 6:10, sponsored by Green Tea Services. Well, the clock continues to tick on that potential Chicago government shutdown. Today, aldermen opposed to Mayor Johnson.